I know Stugotz very well. I follow his exploits. But you mean to tell me that Stugotz is louder than I am?
Thank you. That is the introduction to Amin. He is joining us from Cleveland. He has, this is very exciting because we are launching Amin and Meadowlark Media into the NBA All-Star Game. I can assure you, Amin does not want to be in Cleveland. He is being forced by this content company to go to Cleveland and go get us good content. Why are you waving your sausage fingers at me, Stugotz?
Well, because he's in Cleveland, he's inside, and he's wearing a winter coat. I mean, it looks miserable.
He does look unhappy. You look unhappy.
That's right, Stugotz. It is miserable here. I'm trying to figure out why I was sent here. I just got off the phone with Tom Habistro. He's not here. And I said, we're covering the All-Star game. He said, yeah. We're covering it from the Clevelander. I said, no, we're covering it from Cleveland. He's in Miami. I'm here, and it's I mean,
that's
you
how
guys
we roll.
can't see my window.
This is
It's
how Meadowlark
gray.
Media does it. A miscommunication and a typo. And Amin is miserable. This is not his kind of weather. But we are covering the All-Star game. We're going to have some projects that reveal themselves over the next few days. And if Tom and Amin get together, they will be a part of one of them. I'm excited about what you guys are doing. You were talking to me about it last weekend. You guys are going to do something different.
Yeah, the new podcast just dropped. It posted. Please like, subscribe, share, rate, review, unsubscribe, resubscribe, all the good things. It's called Basketball Illuminati. And Tom and I sat down, and we knew we were going to do a podcast for Meadowlark, the NBA podcast, but we wanted to do something different. We didn't want to do the same old talking head. I think Ben Simmons is going to do this, and I think that Damian Lillard should do that. And here's our guest. We're going to talk to so-and-so from such and such outlet, and we're going to ask him questions. He can give us answers, and then we got a player stopping by later. That's every podcast.
Sounds like a good episode. Sounds like a good episode.
I want to listen to those podcasts. What's the crud you're putting out instead?
We're putting out Basketball Illuminati. It's gonna be fun. It's different. There is a level of character play there, so don't assume that you're going to get like regular Amin or regular Tom on this. And we're gonna do some fun things with the imaging, with the segments. I don't want to give too much away. All I got
You already have.
If you listen, I haven't given away anything actually. If you listen to episode 1, you listen to that intro. You know, oh, this is different. This isn't like every other podcast that you listen to.
But how will James Harden and Joel Embiid fit together?
That's what people want to know, and they want to hear from a guest. And that's okay, but Amin's doing a different podcast. He blazes his own path, and now he's in Cleveland, and he is wearing a winter coat in a hotel room. And Amin, hello, Finney. Good to hear from you again. It's been a long time.
Landscapers.
He says hi, Dan.
We've missed you. You remind me of a very dark time in our life in the pandemic when you were always around, and Stugotz was, yeah. So, Amin, tell me.
I muted myself. See ya.
Tell me, because I love that you're at the All-Star game for us. What are you going to be doing there? You are Meadowlark's correspondent, but you don't have the clothes. Do you have winter clothes like this?
I don't. I discovered this late last night. I had a couple hours to go before I had to go to my red-eye flight, and I realized I don't have any items that are, appropriate for this weather. By the way, Tony has texted me. Tony's going to be meeting me here, and I don't know if Tony got through TSA. He's carrying a lot of equipment with him.
It's just going to be you. So you're worried that it's just going to be you slugging around at bars in Cleveland complaining that closing time's too early and that the All-Star game's at a place that you don't consider that is a very nice city.
Not any federal airspace concerns, or is it something else?
For Tony, I hope he's alive and well. That's all I got to say about Tony. But as far as I go, look, Dan, I don't even know if I want to go to the bars. It is that gross outside. It's gray, it's rainy, it's windy, it's cold. I don't want to deal with any of that. Why? For what? For some ingrates to tell me to ring a bell at like 11:59? Say I have to go home. They tried to pass some legislation to allow the bars to be open until 4 a.m. given the amount of money that's in town, that's all expensing everything. Everything's on an expense report. And these people turned it down. They said, no, we don't want money. We just want to be miserable by our lake that caught on fire once.
Okay, this is not good correspondence work for the All-Star game. He's unhappy to be there. Look, you continue to fill.
Why am I here?
I mean, you continue to fill this lane of drunken basketball correspondent. Your takes are soaked in liquor. Like, how can it be you got to keep feeding me drinks so I can party from midnight to 4 a.m.? You're not wrong. The NBA deserves a party. That's a crappy city to throw a party in with those rules. But you're Meadowlark's correspondent. You're a face of basketball for us. Quit shitting on your sport. You're there because it's the All-Star game.
I love the sport. I love the game. I'm excited to see these athletes compete at the highest level. Although, have you seen the dunk contest field? I dare anybody here. It's only 4 names. I dare anybody to name all 4 names.
No, I read them just this morning, and I forgot all of them.
Really?
We got a guy who has less dunks in 2 years, excuse me, in his entire NBA career than 2 of his teammates had. Juan Toscano-Anderson, who I love him. Let me do it on my Stephen A. voice. I love Juan Toscano-Anderson. This young brother right here came up out of the streets of Oakland. He's fought, he's clawed his way. He's perseverance personified for the Golden State Warriors. And I do nothing but salute him and tip my cap. But you mean to tell me that you couldn't get Gary Payton II or Jonathan Kuminga in the dunk contest? I mean, what are we doing here, Adam Silver? This is a travesty. This is a mockery of the proceedings, and I just can't understand. I am beside myself.
I mean, did you see Stephen A's rant about the Knicks last night? And if so, yes. Where does that rank among best Stephen A. Smith rants of all time?
A lot of people sent it to me because they said it was like he was doing my impression of him. He was doing an impression of Amin, doing an impression of Stephen A. And I was like, okay, I get it, guys. Like, the voices are similar. And then I listened to it. I was like, oh my, it really sounds like something that I would come up with. Dan LeBatard, I was talking to my friends. I received a text message from friends of mine who are Knicks fans, and he said, I pray, I tithe. Tithe is such a funny word.
So good, man. It's really good.
So good.
I would like, in a second we will tell people this. We want all the details because you're going to be filing reports as our correspondent from there. And Tony, you got our video team, and it's a guerrilla outfit. You're going to this game, and we're going to get good content from this game. And I want to talk to you about that. But what's happening with the Knicks, where they've lost these games, 12 days, they've now blown 3 games, 20-point leads. I want to deconstruct the rest of this segment, whether Stephen A. Smith was sincere or not, or whether it was acting, because he sighed like he was hurt. And I know he cares about this team, but then he went and hit all the great notes. You're trash. And I'm wondering, is he really hurting like that? Or is this just him doing a performance of going and grabbing the character and being the character?
Well, let me first say that, like, I kind of really need Tony to be here, not only just to shoot the stuff, but also because the hotel I'm in, these sheets are so rough and coarse, and Tony's bringing some sheets and giggles for me. And by the way, Sheets and Giggles, they're the reason why we're even out here. They ponied up the money to send me Tony. And I thought Tom Haberstroh as well, but I guess it's just me and Tony. By the way, sheetsgiggles.com is where you go to get all your sheets and giggles. Right? Is that right?
Sheetsgiggles.com. No and in the website.
Do you have a promo code? Because we're going to do it this dirty style, where we're going to grab a sponsor and make him a real sponsor, somebody who's listened to this show since he was a kid and been shaped by this show. We're going to continue to wrap this guy in money because he's buying sheets and paying for everything around here. We've got a booster.
I feel like he's wrapping us in money, Dan.
We've got a booster, basically. The LeBatard show, he's funding our travel budget.
Our tremendous sales team, when all goes awry, they call Sheets and Giggles like, hey, you want in on all-star coverage? And they say yes. And we're going to get some quality stuff from Cleveland this week.
Sheets.
Because of Sheets and Giggles.
Again, I am dead serious. When Tony gets here, I'm going to grab a pack of Sheets and Giggles. Hopefully you got the right size. And I'm gonna spread them out on this bed because my standards have been elevated, Dan. You want me to sleep on
Hotel
these
bed sheets? Get out of here.
potato sacks, right? What am I supposed to do? Just wake up with abrasions all over myself? No. Sheetsgiggles.com. Go get you some sheets and giggles.
What is happening?
Look,
Thank me
he
later.
is right.
Let's talk about the Knicks.
It's a good. No, you know what? It's a great way to do the ad. It really is. It is because I want it to be. Do you wake up with a sandpaper face because you sleep on potato sacks? Try our eucalyptus sheets and support Chris, Cody, and Amin as they get drunk city by city.
Sex is better on those sheets. There, I said it.
Oh, for the love of God. I want to deconstruct the Stephen A. Smith because I got a text from a friend that he's exasperated. He was hurt. He was slouched. He was breathing hard.
Dan, the text from a friend is a go-to move of Stephen A. Smith. It's also, and this is the way I know it, it's a go-to move of mine. When you want to say something, but you don't really want to say something, you put it under the umbrella of, hey, I was talking about this with my brother, or I got a text from a bunch of friends of mine. That's how you do it, Dano.
Dude, you have an expert sitting. Well, I guess he's not sitting next to you today, Dan. But like, you have an expert in your midst. Stugotz is absolutely right. It's like, okay, I want to go in on this topic, this player, this coach, this entire organization in this case, right? But I can't just come out and say they're garbage. So I need an entryway. What's the entryway? Man, it's a text message. Now, sometimes if you really want to spice it up, Stugotz, you make it like a celebrity, but you don't say who it is.
Right.
You just kind of a very famous friend of mine from the music industry. I'll do that one a lot, right? Like, so it makes people, oh, who's he talking about? Who could he possibly be talking about? And then you start with kind of the low, as I said, Stephen A. Smith always starts real low and quiet, talking about the bona fides of my friend who prays, who tithes, who's all around person.
You are right that tithes is a great comedic word.
I want it, like, part of me wants to believe he came up with that on the spot, and part of me wants him in the green room, like, bouncing words off of people. No. What about tithe?
No, but this is what. No, but I mean, what I would like is for you to be so good at this character, because I had no idea that you had this skill. One day, I wish for you to bombard the All-Star game in a happier place that is in Cleveland as fake Stephen A. Smith, because you could absolutely. Wow. Do you realize this character can be huge for you because you do it that well, and you're only going to get better at it?
So, couple of things. Despite my already depleted hairline, I need more depletion, right? So maybe we're a couple of years away if we just wait out time, and I'll end up being where his hairline is.
No, lean into it.
I need some suits.
No, lean into it. What if what if Sheets and Giggles were to make brand start making
suits? Do they make hair products?
If Sheets and Giggles makes you a Stephen A. Smith wardrobe out of its sheets, will you portray the character while wearing a bald cap of some sort or with makeup? Are you willing to play this character in public and interview people, or just meet them on the street and argue with them?
Yeah, I need, first of all, I need like a venti of like iced coffee to sip from sarcastically when the person on the other side is making their point. So JJ Redick is talking about how difficult it is to adjust when being traded from one team to another, and you're trying to get the new playbooks and stuff. And I got to like take this long sip of my iced coffee as I roll my eyes and look at it and I say, now, brother JJ, you played in the league. Oh, by the way, did you guys see him? I just remember this. You guys see him with Mad Dog, and he told Jay Williams that you would have handled this better at 20 years old, the Ben Simmons issue. And Jay Williams said, do you know my story? Like, I bought a motorcycle, got in an accident, almost killed myself, ended my career, got into depression, substance abuse. Like, he literally could not have picked a worse person to say you would have handled it better.
This is what I want to ask you, though. Are we presently witnessing, and God bless, please make it so, that First Take's answer to everything's changing, we got to keep up, we've got to be the best version of sports television that there is to continue to throw into the middle of the pile the bet of no more cartoonish. No, more. Stephen A., we're going to need yet more Stephen A. Let's get Mad Dog to bring out more cartoonish. Is that the move going to be over the next 10 years? Just more petroleum in the blow hot air at each other's faces machine?
Why not? Isn't this an infinitely better show than them actually having intelligent dialogue and discourse?
Yes.
Down the
yes.
I'd rather see Stephen A. And by the way, the great theater between Stephen A. and Mad Dog wasn't the words that were said. It's the facial expressions
the best.
When the other guy was talking. And shout out to whoever was directing, because they knew exactly what they're doing. It's like, oh, no. Get me camera one, put it on Stephen A. while Mad Dog's talking. Now Stephen A's talking, let me see Mad Dog. And their facial expressions, they hit every kind of sarcastic look they could, kind of open your eyes a little wider when someone's getting a little too ridiculous, a little faint smile, just kind of like a faint smile. You're not grinning, but just kind of faint smile. Like,
so good.
This guy really believes this. And then you launch into your counterattack. It was like watching the ballet.
It's almost better without the volume up. I'm serious.
I will say, though, I'm very excited for month 6 because yesterday was a little bit too much Mutual Appreciation Society. When they really get on each other's nerves in the dog days of summer, no pun intended, I feel like the sparks will fly.
Stephen A. did kind of lay down the law a little bit, right? Because Mad Dog jumped and started, before Molly could even ask the question, he just went right into his tirade. And Stephen A. said, first of all, you got to wait for her to ask the question. And then you talking to me. You're not talking to Molly. You talking to me, Mad Dog. Come on, Chris Russo.
A little too much DMX in there, I mean.
Sorry.
That's okay. It's a work in progress. It's a work in progress.
By the way, my goal for this impersonation is at the next All-Star game for Amin to be a Stephen A. impersonator and get on the local news as here's our All-Star ambassador, Stephen A. Smith, and they make no mention of the fact that it's not actually Stephen A. Smith.
Stephen B.
my goal, it's funny, Woody, my goal is to sign endorsement deals where I am endorsing products as Stephen A. Smith without ever identifying myself as Stephen A. Smith.
That might be illegal.
For instance, no, wait, why? I'm not. I didn't say I'm Stephen A. Smith. All I'm doing is this, and imagine this is the commercial, right? It starts and it says, "Good afternoon, everybody. I used to sleep terribly. I mean, I was waking up with all types of lines all over my face because the quality of sheet that I was using wasn't quite up to standard. But then they came from Sheets and Giggles, and they sent me my buddy, Chris Cody, sent me to sheetsgiggles.com. And I loved this so much. It was amazing. I could not wait to tell my wife, Michelle.
Oh, no.
What happened?
I wish
I heard
when we lived in Washington, D.C., I had access to sheets at Salter Seas. Now, Governor Romney doesn't want that. Governor Romney wants me sleeping on potato sacks. Sheetsgiggles.com. Bang. Show me where I messed up here,
we
Chris.
Need to do
right?
it.
You're good. You never identified yourself. You're just doing voices.
Myself.
Just doing voices.
I told my personal testimony about.
We need to do this.
Sheets
This needs to be done. It's something. I think we're inviting lawsuits, possibly. But I think I don't know. But I think
no, okay.
I think we get the lawyers to fight the lawsuit. I think it's worth it.
This is how we get sued. I know exactly how we get sued. If I come out for the Sheets and Giggles commercial like this. You know, when the dog gotta sleep, the dog gotta eat. Sheetsgiggles.com. Then they might know, okay, something's a little off here.
I feel bad for whoever else is on the 3rd floor of the Cleveland Radisson.
These sheets are heavenly.
there was some good basketball last night. I mean, and beyond basketball Illuminati that's going to do it differently, you're going to go to the All-Star game, and you're there to get good stuff for us, for Meadowlark Media, stuff that people can't get anywhere else. You got our video team there. Tell us about what you're going to be doing, and also how cool was last night, because last night was a fun basketball night. LeBron was great. The Knicks cough up a lead. It was fun last night.
Jokic with the amazing play to lead to the game winner against the Warriors. And I think I've come away from the last couple of weeks thinking to myself, you know what, why not Jokic a second time? I know his numbers have been incredible. I know his plus minus has been out of this world. He is by far the most impactful player, even when you adjust for location and who else is on the floor. He is the biggest impact plus minus player in the league. The big thing that I think is really funny right now, Dan, when people say you can't give it to him, his team is only 32 and 25, but then they'll say in the same breath, Joel Embiid is unequivocally the MVP. His team is 34 and 23. There are 2 games that separate the Nuggets from the Sixers. People are so definitively saying Embiid is the MVP and saying that Jokic could never be the MVP when their teams are pretty much the same. Jokic has a worse supporting cast, and he's playing better. I hate to say it, but yeah, I think he's the best center in the league right now.
A little more from last night, just the basketball stuff, so that people know that it's not just silliness with you. I mean, because last night was a lot of fun, and I think people want your thoughts. NBA Twitter was having a lot of fun last night.
Well, they were having a lot of fun at the expense of the Knicks. The 27-point lead. And you didn't get beat by Kyrie. You didn't get beat by James Harden, who's not there anymore. You didn't get beat by Ben Simmons or Kevin Durant or any of the names that we've heard of. You got beat by some guy named Cam. Cam might be the guy, the kid next door, little Cam. Hey, Cam, what's going on? What are you doing today? Beating the shit out of the Knicks? You need anything from the store while I'm at it? And it's an embarrassment. But you know what it is, Dan? A lot of it is, we see this so many times, particularly in basketball. Team overachieves. Front office says, we got it. Throws a lot of money at a roster, at players, unnecessarily, makes these moves that are very short-sighted. We come back, we find out team really wasn't that good, which wouldn't be a problem except for the fact you committed all of these resources. So here we are in year 2 of Leon Rose, year 2 of Tom Thibodeau, and a year ago we were singing their praises and say, oh, the Knicks are finally fixed. Oh, the culture is fixed. And that's why I say, man, culture doesn't get fixed in half a season or a season. Culture is what you do year after year, and culture is what you do when things aren't going right. And that's why I said you couldn't tell me the Knicks have changed their culture, because it was just too early. And sure enough, we're seeing them do all the Knickish type things that they usually do.
Stugotz, this is very New York. I don't know how much you're hurting right now, but I'd like for you and Amin to talk about this for a second, because the Knicks spilled into the streets, the fandom, very loud when they won a playoff game. They want so badly for this franchise to overcome Dolan and be something that matters. And now everyone is laughing because Julius Randle is the centerpiece, and all the stuff that was getting thrown Thibodeau and Leon Rose's way has totally vanished now. And it's gone from spilling into the street over one playoff victory. So talk to Amin about how much people are enjoying Amin, because people are enjoying that the Knicks are losing in a spectacularly embarrassing way, where they cough up these historic leads 3 times in 12 days.
I mean, people have always enjoyed the Knicks not being good for whatever reason, And so with this team, Dan, I don't think any Knicks fan ever expected this Knicks team with Julius Randle as its best player to do anything more than what they did last year, which is make it to have a good regular season, make it to the playoffs, get bounced out in the first round or something like that. No one had that serious of expectations for the Knicks. I know I didn't. I thought, hey, this season was going to be the same as last season. So it's disappointing that it's not, okay? But it's not like this team was going to go on and win an NBA championship. And so laugh all you want. We're used to it. We're numb to it. It's been going on for 20 years. We're a lousy organization. That's it.
Yeah, Stugotz, this is where I'm going to disagree. I think the league is better when the Knicks are good, right? We saw that last year.
Yes.
We're not. You don't have to be the best. They don't have to be elite. You just got to be good.
Just
right?
relevant.
Just relevant. Yeah, exactly. Just good. and we can handle the rest, right? I think it no one likes a punching bag. It's good for us, assholes who like to make jokes, but for the vast majority of the basketball viewing public, it's much more exciting when the reason why, for instance, one of the reasons why Trae Young, I think, really exploded last year was because we had this thing where Trae Young goes to Madison Square Garden and they're chanting, "You're bald," and like making jokes about his hair, and then he has these great performances and he bows. You need a worthy opponent. You should know this more than anybody, Stugotz, as much as you love Rocky. Rocky needs someone that at the outset looks like, oh, man, this guy's going to kill him. Whether it was Drago, whether it's Apollo Creed, whether it's Clubber Lang, the threat has to be there because otherwise there's no drama in there. And I think that's what the league needs out of the Knicks. Specifically speaking about what's happened to them, though, again, we're supposed to believe that Julius Randle's 1 year shooting well from three that's it. We're going to erase everything he'd done before then. This is the new him, and nothing is going to change or revert. These were the kind of decisions that they made, and I think they were short-sighted, and they didn't need to because he was under contract. You could have wrote this thing out and seen where it could have gone.
It's weird, Dan, because Leon Rose and Worldwide West, these are guys who are supposed to be connected to free agents, to people in the NBA, and it seems like they're just bringing in guys they have relationships with, and it's annoying. It's super. Tom Thibodeau is one of their guys, I believe, and so it's just it's kind of annoying.
Oh, but I mean, you know that the agencies run some of this. I think people underestimate some of these
agencies with an S. Agencies with an S.
Go ahead.
We're talking about New York.
Yeah,
we're talking about the New York Knicks.
I'm talking about the league.
It's one agent.
I'm talking about the league.
Look, but the league, obviously, agents have influence. Sometimes they have influence through a player, a star player. Sometimes they have an influence over an entire organization. The Knicks and the Lakers right now are a weird kind of incestuous, right, in their own rights, right? For the Knicks, the CAA ties are over everything, right? So your president was a CAA man, right? Your VP was a CAA man. Your head coach was a CAA man. Your assistant coaches, CAA men. Your star player, CAA man, right? The guy that you want on another team, Donovan Mitchell, is a CAA man, right? And look, there's nothing wrong with CAA, but there's a problem when that's the lens through the keyhole through which you see the world. Is just get me people who are already in my circle. In LA, it's, I think, either Clutch or Rob Pelinka. Landmark represented you at some point. It's staggering. You look up and down the roster. It's like, do y'all go shopping anywhere else? Do you just go to the same big box store and say, no, everything I have in my house is Kirkland brand. I don't need to go to the mall. I don't need to get anything. Just give me the Kirkland brand tissue. Give me the Kirkland brand water. Give me the Kirkland brand everything. That's what these two organizations have been doing. And the reality is the great organizations and the great teams, they're shopping everywhere. They're wherever the talent is, wherever we can get the best possible combination.
But it's lazy ownership. I mean, this is the real stuff. Like when people say James Dolan is a bad owner, a lot can go into that. Some of it real, some of it imagined. But what you're describing is just so lazy as to be breathtaking, where you just farm out the work to the agency that takes 10%. Because you've been a disaster for a long time, and they're in the Hollywood showbiz business of making sure your optics are good. So they'll get you the guys who are the relationship guys, and maybe they'll bring you a star, maybe they won't. But you still get into a position where Dolan is farming out, outsourcing the real hard work to an agency that's interested in just getting its players paid.
Well, he hired one of the guys who runs that agency to run his organization. Now, Dan, it might benefit them down the road. As Amin just pointed out, they have relationships with Donovan Mitchell. It might benefit the Knicks down the road, but right now, it's not. And that's disappointing for Knicks fans.
And I get it, because if you're saying, I'm the Knicks, we play in the world's most famous arena, we're in this beautiful international cosmopolitan city, you get anything at any time of night, whatever, players want to be here, they hang out here, they party here, but we can't sign people. For whatever reason, we can't land big stars. Here comes a guy says, I'll get you some stars. I represented half of them. They'll listen to me, right? You got some other guy doing this. They're not going to listen to him. I can sell it because I have a relationship with these people. And that's how Leon Rose and Wes and the rest of them got their opportunity. And by the way, they may not be wrong. They might be they might be correct in that they can get guys because of their CAA ties. But my thing is this: when the entire operation becomes just a CAA machine or a clutch machine or a priority sports machine or whichever agency you want to pick, BDA Sports, there's nothing wrong with them individually. There's a problem when everything is funneled through just that lens, and I think that's what's happened in New York.
Give us some more information then out west, because there's so much I want to cover with you here, Amin. But with the Lakers, I'm asking this question without knowing the inner workings, but if you're telling me that the agencies can have this kind of power, then does LeBron work for the Lakers, or right now in the machine, are the Lakers working for Clutch?
Well, I don't think they're working for is tough. It's a hard one. It's not that they're working for. It's that their North Star on what we should do is kind of like going through what is Clutch thing, right? And, Russell Westbrook, for instance, he's not a Clutch client. But it still was one of those things where we had last summer AD and LeBron sitting around and interviewing other stars. How would you fit in here and things like that. That's a really perverse way. I'm not saying players shouldn't have a say, particularly star players. You should say, hey, man, we're thinking about getting so-and-so. What do you think? But when the cart is leading the horse, so to speak, and, the player, LeBron, is usually flexes his power through his agency, through Clutch, right? That's how KCP and think about all the guys who've come through the Lakers who were Clutch clients. By the way, there's one of the hottest rumors is that if John Wall gets bought out, guess where he's going? He's going to the Lakers. Now, is that because John Wall becomes the hottest buyout target on the market and the Lakers lucked up and they got him? Or is it because John Wall's repped by an agency that reps a lot of guys that already play for that team? And that's the problem. It's what you said is absolutely right. It's lazy ownership when you're like, what do you think? And the person who you're asking, what do you think, is going to just suggest people that they have connections with.
Amin, thank you, sir. I appreciate your time. Thank you for making it. And I hope that somehow popping up this weekend is you at midnight on YouTube from Cleveland in a smoke-filled room because you can't go outside complaining about Cleveland. I'm hoping that we get a lot of stuff out of you over the course of the next few days.
We will. 3 last points. Number 1, sheetsgiggles.com. Make sure you go and check that out.
Fantastic.
Number 2, Cinephobe. Roy Bellamy is our guest this week.
Hello.
I'm not going to go through the whole spiel. Roy's a guest. We did 5 heartbeats.
Get out of here. The other podcast. No. Give me the other podcast. We got to get out of here.
He was promoting Roy.
Trying to hype up Roy.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I'm
Dan.
sure you're trying to help Roy.
Black History Month.
That is not for Roy.
That was to help Roy, for sure.
That was not to help Roy.
Absolutely. I support the people who support the show.
Yeah.
And then finally, obviously, Basketball Illuminati. Go ahead and give it a listen. Hell, you can just listen to the intro and I'll be happy. It is on fire. The artwork is crazy. We have this concept with Angel that's going to be really cool over the next
Get out of here.
few
You
months.
got to get out of here.
It's like Ozark, baby.
See you
it's
later.
Opening in Ozark.
See you later. Thank you for. It's like Ozark. Jesus.
Drugs in Naperville, Illinois.
Okay. Get out of here. Thank you, Amin.
That's right.
Jessica, you were dwarfed when Tarzan.
He's so tall.
When Tarzan walked into the room, the man who speaks to the animals in his jungle gear, no less. He is wearing this is something it looks like he would wear in Africa. Mundo Salvaje with the sponsor on the over his heart because he's a sellout. He's in studio and he's giant. He's giant.
He is a giant.
I'm just tall. I'm not really a giant.
No, you're
tall.
really tall.
I'm tall, but not a giant.
You're taller than everyone in this room, and this room is full of very tall people.
That's true. My grand's tall. You're tall.
Cast a shadow. You are a big, imposing man who speaks to the animals. You only eat steak. You are.
I don't only eat steak. That's not true, Dan. I enjoy a steak every now and then.
Raw steak.
You're just.
No, I like it medium rare. I don't like it well done. You well done a steak and you've ruined it.
Put it on the poll, please. Guillermo's not here, so Chris, can you put this on the poll, please? Is Ron Magill's mustache alone more masculine than anyone in our entire universe? I saw some ants running around in a circle to death in video. Do you know what this is? I've never seen it before, and your ants aren't your specialty because you know the bigger animals, but I saw a video of just ants running in a circle chasing each other, and they apparently do it until exhaustion, and some of them die.
It could have been that their pheromone line was disturbed. In other words, if you see ants walking in a line, all you need to do is take your finger, go across that line, and you'll see they'll stop where your finger goes across because you're in the pheromone line. If a pheromone line is put in a circle, they'll keep following each other in a circle endlessly.
Stupid ants.
You know, ants will be here long after all of us as human beings are gone.
Walking in a circle.
Do you
'cause
know,
they made a thing with the
Chris, I'm
sand.
going to give you a fact. I'll give you a fact. The weight of all the ants on the planet surpasses the weight of all the humans on the planet, weight-wise. So think how many ants that is.
A lot of dumb animals.
Except you, because you're so tall.
You can't love ants, though, too, the way that you love other animals.
I do love ants only because of how incredibly socially intricate they are. How they all know their roles, what they do. You know, you watch a group of leafcutter ants in the rainforest, and you see them defoliate a tree methodically, and they're carrying things that weigh 20 times what they weigh. They bring it down, and they're their actual original gardeners because they don't eat the leaves. What they do is they farm the leaves underground to create a fungus that they then feed on. But they all work cooperatively together. You got the soldiers that are guarding other things from getting those ants. And you got the ants that cut the leaves, and you have the ants that carry the leaves. Everybody's got their role, and it's so well organized. We should be as well organized.
You love ants unless they're in your house.
Yeah, you know, I'm not really keen on the ants in the house, especially those little tiny sugar ants.
Oh, tell me.
Those suckers, they'll find your way into anything, man. We got to put the cereal now. I used to be able to put the cereal, just close up the bag and put the box on. We got to put them in the seal tight things now.
Yep.
Because they'll find their way into the bag. And then, you know, listen, you could eat that. You're eating insects all the time. There's a number of insects that are allowed in your food by the FDA all the time. But the knowledge that it was there, it's like, you know, if you see a roach on something, you throw away the whole plate, right? You're not going to eat, because even if it just touched the one end of your plate, really, Chris?
Okay,
I light my apartment on fire if I see a roach.
You got to eat a peck of dirt before you die. As long as it's not on the main dish, I can live with it.
Now, what is the legal amount of insect that you're allowed to eat?
We were surprised by you saying we eat insects all the time.
We do. The FDA, I don't know what the actual amount is, but there is a legal amount of insect matter allowed in your food that is passed by the FDA.
I once found an ant in a drink I got at a Pollo Tropical, and I just kind of left it there and just kind of got on with it. I think I consumed the ant, and I feel like I'm fine. I have no qualms about this. No qualms about
you know,
this.
an ant doesn't make a qualm, but I'm not going to say where I got it, but I actually got a milkshake once. And the legs of a roach.
Oh, that's game over.
That's not
right
stopping
there.
me.
That's over.
That's not
Light
stopping
the
me.
restaurant
Oreo
on
milkshake?
fire!
It's just protein.
No, but that's
No,
not
the legs.
me.
No, but the
Extra team.
The
legs.
legs is their hairy little thorns on the end of the legs and the little claws at the end. They're sticking out of the.
And
beautiful white
also, it's the
vanilla.
aesthetics of the ice cream too. That
It
this
is.
guy,
It
it's
was-
like coming through a chowder.
It
Like
was
you
horrible.
can just.
It was horrible.
It must stink if you're an ant and you work months building this big mansion, and then some 14-year-old just comes through and kicks the whole thing over.
Yeah, but those ants they'll get their revenge, man. You ever step on a mound of fire ants and not know it? Because what they do is, this is really interesting. You know, you'll step on there and they'll all get on really quietly, and they'll wait till there's like 300 or 400 of them on there, and then one all of a sudden says now, and they all bite you at the same time.
No.
Yes, that's the truth. That's the God's honest truth. They do that in syncrecy. What's the word I'm looking for? Synchronicity, okay? Because if the first ant got on your foot and bit your foot, it'd be, oh, I got that, get out of there. But no, they wait till there's at least 100 of them on there, and then you'll notice it's like, bam, 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 they all bite you at once. The pheromones drop, and they all bite you at once. That's exactly what it is.
Chris, you just said dumb ants, and
they're not that dumb, are they?
McGill's got it right. They're smarter than us, and they work together a hell of a lot better than we do.
The social working together is what fascinates me about them.
Can you explain to us from the insect kingdom which of the insects or just the small animals that are not your area of expertise? I'd never heard you show an adoration for ants before. Anything from that arm of the animal kingdom that you're wildly impressed by?
Bees, Dan. Bees are so incredibly important. First of all, they have the same social structure. They have the drones. They have the queen. You know, and the queen, for all real purposes, is like the greatest, most promiscuous animal on the planet because she's getting bred by thousands and thousands of males all the time, just producing eggs. But you have the drones, and they work together. And understand that, you know, when a bee stings you, it dies. It dies. It has to actually get rid of the stinger, which basically deguts it, and it dies. So it's a last-ditch effort. But think of what bees do. They pollinate the plants to produce the foods that we eat, fruits, vegetables. Without bees, we starve, brother. And the way they coordinate, the way they do dances, you'll see how they do dances outside their hive that they can read from each other. The dance is telling, okay, This is where the nectar is. Go this way. This is where the nectar is. This way. They talk to each other through the dance. They dance on the hives, and the other bees look and say, okay, left here, right there, 2 miles there, we're there. That's exactly how it works. It's fantastic. This is a bug.
Do these bees know that they have one sting?
They do.
Okay.
They do.
Because I feel like I would be very judicious with it if I knew.
Yeah,
I
you see,
had
and
that answer.
that's the thing. They are. So when you get stung by a bee, it's because
You're lucky. You should feel honored.
What it's done is it's basically kind of a kamikaze move. Okay, it's basically saying, sacrifice of the one.
My time.
Sacrifice of the one for the survival of the many. I'm going to protect the hive no matter what it costs.
There's got to be one Stugotz bee that's like, Witty, you got this one.
Yeah, definitely.
I heard that.
Put it on the poll, Cody. Put it on the at LeBatard Show. Is there a Stugotz bee?
Nah, buddy, it's not my time. I'm saving mine.
Okay, Ron, back to your cockroach leg and a milkshake. So I had a bit of a roach situation when I moved to Miami a few months ago. It's a long story.
By the way,
I don't
Jessica,
want-
those nails are stunning.
Thank you for noticing.
They are stunning.
No one has
Jessica.
noticed.
Are you
I
serious?
didn't want to say anything.
What's the matter with you guys?
What is the
HR.
matter with you
What
guys?
is the matter?
HR.
They are
Talk about
gorgeous.
my nails, Roy. That's not an HR
Those are
bio.
nice
That's not
nails. Those are very pretty nails.
Beautiful nails.
Thank
Anyway,
you.
I'm
I
sorry.
appreciate that.
You had a roach
I
in
take
your
a lot
apartment.
of care of myself,
He's
unlike the
good.
other people in this room. Okay, so I once saw a dead roach in my apartment that was so big that its leg was like several inches long, and I noticed that this cockroach leg, you know those like sexy leg lamps with the fishnet stockings?
Yeah.
That's what the leg looked like.
That's a
Like from a
giant
Christmas Story?
cockroach.
It was like a really like curvy leg, like
Yeah.
kind of sexy leg.
Yeah, they have shape to them, form.
Yeah, why do cockroaches have sexy long legs?
And only in South Florida. Like I don't. It's, I
Well,
mean,
first, let me just say this, Jessica. There really is no cockroach on the planet that has legs that are several inches long. And I understand where you may think that because, people will see a snake that's 2 feet long, and by the time they they saw the snake, it's 20 feet long because you tend to exaggerate things that make you very uncomfortable in your mind. Having said that, roaches do, especially the palmetto roaches that we have here in Florida, they secrete a lot of fluid. And that fluid can sometimes build up in their legs to give them almost like biceps and curves to their legs. That does give them shape. And the little hairs that stick out kind of make the little fishnet look to the legs. So I can see that, though I personally have never looked at it as a sexy leg. So
Well, it was shapely. I
seg.
mean, I wasn't attracted to it, but I could see how someone would see this leg sticking up in the air and be like,
I'm
wow,
an-
that's a good look.
I'm not attracted
That
to it, but I
roach
can
has
see
calves.
hypothetically.
No, but I'm impressed that you took the time to look at it that long. Most people don't look that long. They like, ah, they run away.
Well, yeah. So I looked at it, screamed, ran away, called Chris Whittingham, and said, "Hey, can you come pick up this several-inch long dead roach from my closet?"
Again, several inches long. Yeah, you might get 2 inches max. That's a pretty big one.
it is unpleasant and couldn't have been anything that you expected. Because is there anywhere in the United States that produces cockroaches the way this area does?
Oh, absolutely. Any of the tropical countries. I go to Panama. I go to
No,
Colombia.
United States though.
Oh,
Like,
United States? No. We're the only, understand, other than Hawaii. Hawaii would get some big roaches. But other than Hawaii, we're the only state in a subtropical climate in the entire continental United States. People think, oh, what about California? No, that's very arid. That's desert. Cockroaches need humidity. They got it here.
You couldn't be on with us last week because you were busy electro-ejaculating.
I knew you were going to
Hell
bring
yeah.
this up. Yeah, listen, we
A bull.
Thank you for finishing that sentence.
I was looking to let it sit for about 15 seconds if McGill hadn't spoken. Just letting him sit in it. Yes, you were electro-ejaculating.
I
A bull.
personally was not doing it. That was done
You
by
were observing.
by a
See, I
vet-
told you.
I was documenting it. Okay, I was photographing
Oh,
it
yeah.
and doing videos for our records. Listen, artificial insemination is a very important part of maintaining populations under human care of endangered species. The bantang, which is a wild type of bull from India, is a highly endangered species. And sometimes, we don't have the ability to, as I say, this male needs to breed with a female, let's say in Chicago. We're going to send her to no, we're not going to ship them to the Brookfield Zoo. But what we can do is we can collect the semen and then we can implant that semen in a female when she's ovulating. So what we have to do is first we have to collect the semen to see if he's sterile or if he's actually fertile. And that's what we did. So we immobilized the bull. We use, here we go. We use an electroprod. It looks like a big hot dog, okay, that has
How big?
electrostimulus.
No, for the love of God.
It's big.
How big?
There it is.
This kit is available
There
for
it is.
$2,800 on the internet.
That's it. That's an
valleyvet.com.
electro-ejaculation
budget?
kit. It's electro-ejaculation.
I love that for
We expense
most
that?
for most people listening, this is not a video experience. So Ron Magill just shouted, "There it is," as if Jessica pulled one out of her pocket.
Well, she had it on the internet. She did show what it was, and she showed it on the tablet there. And it is, it's like a small, depending on the animal you're using on a big bull like that, we got something that looks like a small baseball bat, and it's got little electric prongs in the end. So we insert that up the rectum of the bull that gets right up to where a certain point is, and then they give it these small electrical shocks. And you'll see the bull is totally anesthetized, but the electricity makes it go rigid, and then all of a sudden you'll see this large erection happen. I still don't know why these electroshocks cause these erections, but then it causes the erection. We put a cup under there, and we collect what comes out of the erection.
Here's a question. Why?
Again, because we have to, first of all, see if he's fertile. So we'll take that ejaculate, we'll put it right under a microscope, and we can see literally thousands of swimmers in there. That guy was as fertile as could be. I mean, they were just swimming like a whole bunch of school fish swimming in there. So then we immediately freeze that into vials. We freeze it, and then we can use it. We can ship that 10 years later to another place, thaw it out. Those swimmers are still alive, and we insert it into the female, and she's impregnated. We can do any kinds of. Listen, guys, on a very serious note, there are many humans that have infertility problems. What you see today in human beings with artificial insemination and IVF and all that stuff that goes on, that was all started with animals. What we learned from animals, we've been able to apply to humans, and that knowledge has been able to give people families that otherwise they would not be able to have. So I know we like to make fun of this stuff, and I want to make fun of it too. I don't feel comfortable there when I'm holding like when we had electro-ejaculate a hyena. But let me tell you something that's really interesting. No.
That's a great sentence. It's just a great sentence.
No. But listen, this is something that's a fact that, again, and look it up, guys, because you're not going to believe me. The hyena is a matriarchal animal. The females are bigger than the males. The females run the show. What's even more amazing is that the clitoris of the female is bigger than the penis of the male. People will look at a female hyena and go, "Oh, look, that's a male because he's got this big thing." No, that's the clitoris of the female. The male's penis is considerably smaller. And it's really incredible to find out. You have to go in the clitoris. I don't want to get into real detail, but
No, please go on.
Well, Ron, just in all honesty, okay, because we're in a free space here and we tend to make fun of you about this, but it really is about the science of it for you. And the reason you're chronicling it is because you're awed by all of it. And so please give all the details you want.
The clitoris on the female, it comes out, it looks like a penis. It has a little sheath of skin that you actually, when we put in the little prod to go down to find out, you go into the sheath of skin into the clitoris, and then it's halfway down this pole of a clitoris that there's a divergence, and one is the urethra and one is the vagina, but you don't see that externally. All you see is this big penis looking thing that's the clitoris. This is fantastic when you think about it. And what they do is when the females get excited, they get an erect clitoris and they bounce it up against their abdomen, and they kind of show that to males like, "I'm the boss. Mine is bigger than yours." Okay.
Wow.
Not very hard to find either.
And too graphic, frankly. Too graphic.
Size does matter.
I'm sorry, but I just think that's a fascinating fact. When people look at hyenas, you look at it and say, "Well, you lose your money, you make a bet, say that's a male." No, it's the female. The male, sometimes you hardly see a penis at all.
What happened the other day with the viral video of birds just falling dead out of the sky?
Good question. I've been asked that many times, and in fact, I just did a thing with NBC News on that. The fact is that people say, "Oh, they hit some electric thing or it's pollution in the sky and they all just dropped dead." No, they did not drop dead. If you look at that video very closely, they're flying in mass. They literally fly into the ground. And the reason they're doing that is because a hawk or a falcon or some other predator came into that flock and went to get one. And in order to avoid, they all went down and hit the ground. The best analogy I can give you is you see a school of fish when they're swimming in the ocean, and when a shark comes in, how they all go like in a wave, right? Well, in the ocean, they don't hit anything. Okay, but these birds had nowhere to go, and their primary thing is to get away from this hawk diving at them, and they go the other way. It happened to hit the ground and hit the house, so a couple of them died because of that. But you'll notice most of them flew away. It's like, listen, Jessica, if you're going through the house and you're going through a dark hallway and somebody's there and you don't realize, and they scare, they go, "Ah!" And you go, "Oh!" You might slam into the other wall, right? Just trying to get away from them. That's exactly what those birds were doing. They were going, "Ah!" And they hit the house because their primary thing was not be eaten by the bird.
I had a bad feeling in my stomach the other day just because a bird was flying and clearly didn't see that something was glass. And I heard the sound, and then I heard the animal just fall to its death with a thud in a way that stayed with me. You've seen a lot of gruesome, awful things in the animal kingdom. some of it reaches you emotionally and some of it doesn't, but you are there as a scientist as well. Some of it's very dark. How often do you get left with something, a feeling so unpleasant because of something you've seen animals do that you're like, man, that was so cruel that I felt unspeakably bad for the animal?
I think, one of the misconceptions that people have is that nature is like Disney. Everything's happily ever after. It's like walking through the Bambi forest, and it's not, well, Bambi forest didn't work so well in the beginning, but the bottom line is, it's just a happy butterfly singing birds, and nature's very cruel. Animals usually suffer a long, miserable death. And I've watched animals starving to death. I've watched an animal, I've watched a zebra trying to run away from a lion, escape the lion, but break its leg, or a crocodile, grab the leg of an antelope, rip it off, and the antelope runs away. He's not going to survive, not long at least. And the bottom line is his death is going to be a miserable, slow death. So things in nature, death in nature can be very, very difficult to watch. What's most difficult for me to watch is when it's the result of human abuse. I've seen a vulture in Africa with an arrow through it, all the way through it, still alive, having to fly with this arrow through it. And I'm thinking, God, who would do this? Why would somebody do something like that? So when you see animals that have suffered as a result of a human atrocity, that is more difficult for me. On those occasions, I can try to make a difference. I can go into it. But, when you see an animal dying of starvation, we as scientists, we can't do anything. We have to let nature run its course, and that's difficult.
Have you had a lot of moving experiences with animals that you have seen harmed by humans that you were able to personally resuscitate because of your work?
That vulture was one. We were able to catch that vulture. We were able to get the arrow out of it and release that vulture. That was a big thing. And people say, it's a freaking vulture. People have this preconceived notion that vultures are gross animals. Vultures are incredible animals that save us in so many ways by eliminating disease potential, eliminating, carcasses around. People need to understand everything has its role. So that was one.
I have a question. There's a lot of turkey vultures around Miami.
Yes.
Why is that?
That's the wintertime. It's wintertime. The official start of winter in Miami is when the turkey vultures hit the top of the courthouse in downtown Miami. When you start seeing circling, that's the beginning of winter here in Miami. The beginning of summer will be when many of them go away. But many of them are staying now. Why? Down south we have, for instance, we call it Mount Trashmore. It's the big landfill, and all the garbage is there. And the vultures are constantly seen around there because they're carrion feeders. They feed on garbage, on dead things. And that dump provides them a ton of food that way. So sometimes more vultures stay down here than usual, but vultures are migratory, and there'll be vultures that come down. Most of them you'll see down here in the winter. Same thing with seagulls. You'll start seeing a lot of seagulls here more in the winter than you see in the summertime, because in the summertime they disperse to the country.
You said if bees are gone, we starve.
Absolutely. We starve, or we pay $50 for a tomato. That's the bottom line. And people don't understand, Dan, I know I don't want to oversimplify things, but by protecting these animals, we're protecting ourselves. We really are. We're all connected, man. What happens in their quality of life is a direct reflection on our own quality of life.
Last bit of activism here that I would be remiss if I did not get into with you, because you care about the animals deeply, and the Miami Seaquarium has been a bit of a blight on Miami for 50 years for a lot of different reasons. But what's happening with Lolita and the protests around there, because Lolita has gotten sick because a whale is not meant to be in such small waters, in rotten waters, being fed rotten fish. Do they have a problem feeding this animal? Can they afford to feed this animal? How does this animal not die in their care?
Dan, I'm not there. I don't know. So I can't really make a comment on what I don't know and having been there. I know some of the people that work there are really good people. My assumption has to be this is just a product of management. Just, people trying to cut corners. I want to say something for the record that's going to make a lot of people really angry with me. I understand the push to saying, oh, you got to get her out of there and put her into a sanctuary right now. That would be disastrous at this point. She's such an old animal. She's been raised in a bubble. To take her out of that bubble, the stress alone might kill her. This is something that two wrongs don't make a right. It was horrific what happened to Lolita. It hopefully will never anything like that happen again. Hopefully people have learned from that. But, the analogy I try to use is that this is an incredibly intelligent animal that was treated badly when she was ripped out of the ocean, ripped away from her family. I would never, ever I don't support taking dolphins, any cetaceans out of the water to put in captivity. But the bottom line is this, that mistake was made, and you cannot now try to make up for it. You remember Free Willy? That whale, they raised millions of dollars because they said, oh, we got to release this whale. We're going to, it's the right thing to do. We got to free Willy. Well, they freed Willy, and Willy died a long, miserable death in the ocean. emotion because he could not adjust. Okay, and that's what would happen to Lolita.
Even if she were moved to another tank, correct? Like all they're talking about is have the fish not be rotten, have the water. Like
absolutely, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. There needs to be some oversight on what's happening there. And what I'm seeing is that the Seaquarium is like closed doors. We can't see. We're not going to show you what's going on. There's nobody's. If you're transparent, if you can show people that you are in fact doing the best that you can, and you're doing all these things, then do so.
But how do you help if that's something that bothers you enough that you because it has bothered you, and it's a half a century wrong that this animal has been slowly dying. That animal needs to have wild spaces, and I'm talking to a zoo guy who puts things in confined spaces, but that animal needs more room.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing I want to make clear is I'll say this, and people are going to say, "Wow, I can't believe you're saying that." In a perfect world, we wouldn't need any zoos, Dan. And I never, ever approve of taking an animal out of the wild and putting it in captivity unless it's the last-ditch effort to save that animal's life or to save the species it represents, which zoos have been able to do with things like the black-footed ferret, the Arabian oryx, there's the California condor. We've been able to save those species because of that. Having said that, zoos have to do something to provide conservation in the wild of the animals they decide to keep under their purview. This whale is an incredibly nomadic animal. They travel thousands and thousands of miles. I've had the privilege of swimming with killer whales in the Galapagos Islands. I know that feeling of seeing these animals free like that. So what this has to be a learning lesson to make sure it never, ever
But it can't be
again.
fixed. There's no bit of the protesters, activism.
The protesters are bringing awareness and hopefully forcing the issue to make sure they're feeding that animal the best quality food. They got it in the best quality water they can keep it at. They're doing the best quality. But that worries me because we're not being shown. They're giving it closed, and I don't believe it. I believe in total transparency. If you're screwing up, at least be honest. Say, listen, we screwed up. We've got to do better. But when you close the doors and you say we're not commenting or we're going to just spoon feed you things we want you to hear, that bothers me.
Ron, thank you, sir. We will talk to you again next week. If you want to support the animals and something that involves a great deal of care, because he really does love the animals, and you want to do it without bureaucracy and you want to do it without politics, you want to just get your money to the care of the animals and the things that Ron Magill cares about, the endowment can be found easily online. He was just telling me, and through the help of our listeners, that it has raised a lot of money and has resulted in a great deal of care.
Thank you very much. That's more than true. There's been no single organization that has helped that endowment more than this incredible show and its listeners.
And the money goes straight to
the animals. Straight to the animals. As a matter of fact, I'm going to send you something, Dan, that you can put on your website. It's going to be a support report so people who's donated can look at it and see all the things that it has done.
All right, we will put it at worldofsuey.com.
He said earlier that he swam with killer whales. Like, what is the wildest example of that? I've flown with bald eagles. Like, what? You just drop these things in.
Casual sentences. Yes,
it was not something I did on purpose.
Ejaculated a bull.
Yeah, no. I was actually photographing sea turtles in the Galapagos Islands, and a huge shadow went over my head. And I looked up; it was a killer whale swimming over me. I mean, it rocks your world. Listen, my favorite saying in the world is this: life is not measured by the number of breaths that you take; it's measured by the number of times your breath is taken away. Never forget that, man.
G-bumps.
It saw how tall you were, and it's like, I'm not fucking with that thing.
that thing's mustache is more masculine than I am.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Ron.